Hi, I'm Justin Struble, and I want to tell you about HELOCs, home equity lines of credit. I'm in the process of getting one on my house. Now, a few years ago during the pandemic, we were hopefully all either purchasing or refinancing homes with really low interest rates, 2 point something percent, 3 point something percent, and that was great. And hopefully you did it on a 15, 20, 30 years is even better, fixed term. Now, especially if you're going to stay in the home for a while. And that's what I did. And now I'm looking at it saying the price of the real estate has gone way up, and I have let's call it a 50% loan to value, meaning the value of the property, I only owe 50% on it. This gives me a window where I can utilize some of that home equity, that value of the property that isn't borrowed out. Now, you don't want to use all of it. The banks won't give you all of the value out when they lend you money, but you can certainly go up to the 70% to 80% range and get a very competitive rate, meaning you're not a high risk borrower. As an example, if your property is worth $500,000 and your first mortgage is $250,000, $500,000 times 80% is $400,000. 70% is $350,000. So in that example, if I have a $250,000 mortgage, I could get another $100,000 to $150,000 home equity line of credit. This is not a second mortgage where I say, yes, send me $100,000. This is not refinancing where you say, here's the $250,000 you already lent me, combine this with a new loan at a new rate. You do not want to do that in today's interest rates. Interest rates are 5 or 6% right now for refinancing. You do not want to refinance a 2 or 3% rate into a 5 or 6% rate just to get more cash out. Don't do it. I had one of the large firms I was speaking with last week. They wanted me to do this, and I'm just rolling my eyes, shaking my head, saying, no, this doesn't make any sense. I'm not getting rid of a good thing just to have access to more cash. I don't need the cash. I'm not desperate, and I'm not going to make a bad decision. And of course, he rambled on for 5 or 10 minutes trying to convince me that his math is smarter and he can actually foresee the future and all this stuff. It's like, no, I'm not going to give up a good thing. So don't refinance your first mortgage if you have a really good interest rate. Now, the difference in a second mortgage and a HELOC, this home equity line of credit, is a line of credit is like a credit card. And obviously that has bad connotation when I say credit card, but the concept of a credit card is if I have a MasterCard, Visa card, American Express, Discover, and it has a $20,000 credit limit, I can not use it and I don't owe any money. But if I use it, I can use up to that $20,000 limit and I pay it back. Hopefully that same month, but certainly over a very short period of time, because the interest rates on a credit card are extremely high, 15, 20, 30% sometimes. A home equity line of credit is still a line of credit. So going back to the example, I might get a home equity line of credit of $100,000. Now, this is the equivalent of a credit card with a $100,000 limit, but I do not have to use that $100,000. I can use $2,000, $20,000. I can come back 6 months later and use another $50,000, $2,000. I can pay it off the next month. And because it's based on your home equity, they have something backing this loan. Therefore, the interest rates are not 20 to 30%. They're much more competitive with home interest rates. So it still might be 4, 5, 6, 7, 8% interest rates. 8% is not great. 4% is pretty good right now. But the point is, these rates are acceptable if you need cash. Now, when would you use a home equity line of credit? You could use it if you're doing a remodel or an addition to your house. Not a great use because you really don't want these out long term. You want, if you use the money, you do want to pay them off in a matter of a couple of years, not 30 years, because they have a variable rate typically. And there's a lot of different variations, but in general terms, it's a variable rate, which means the rate can go up. If interest rates do continue to rise, you can be stuck with a very high payment on what otherwise should not have been that significant. Now, the best use of a home equity line of credit is to never use it. What I mean by that is having this line of credit is a safety net. It's an emergency fund. So if you're looking at the world today and saying, I don't know what's going to happen in the next couple of years, we've got inflation, we've got gas prices, we've got people at work that may not be there, I might be at risk, my spouse may have issues at work. Now I'm looking at it saying, okay, I need to protect my household from a bad couple of years if something bad happens. If this becomes a recession and potentially even a depression, if that's a concern to you, even at your household level, where it may not be an official depression for the country, then an equity line of credit is a good tool to have, because it allows you to say, okay, if I lose my job, if we really need money to pay all the other bills, we can borrow at a relatively low rate and pay it back when we can. This allows you to keep the house as long as you can make the payments. It allows you, if you needed a car, you can get a car. And it gives you that flexibility that an emergency fund gives you. And it gives you as much flexibility on paying it back. But if you don't use it, you don't pay any expense. Whereas an emergency fund, you certainly have the opportunity cost where your dollars don't work for you. They may be sitting in a bank or something that's not keeping up with inflation. A home equity line of credit is simply, think of it as a credit card with a really good interest rate. If I need it, I can use it. But best case scenario is I never touch it. I simply just had this line of credit available to me, and it was based on the house. The important thing there is this is your house, and if you default on this home equity line of credit, it's not like a credit card where they might come after you and try and collect and settle. No, if you default on your house, they have the ability to foreclose on your house. Don't do that. Don't push your limits. Make sure you have the right line of credit, and don't use it just happenstance. Make sure you have a good reason, a deliberate reason for using it. But getting it in place is valuable. It's worth doing. And shop it around. I'm in the process of that. And there's a couple companies that still do it. So if you talk to somebody and they say, oh, we don't do HELOCs, nobody's doing them right now, hang up the phone, call the next one. I'm Justin Struble with BSG Advisers. Hopefully this has been valuable. Please subscribe. Check out our website, bsgadvisers.com. And I would love to hear your thoughts on this or other topics you'd like to hear more about.